Hello there, Seraph17 once again. This is my Birth by Sleep Critical Difficulty Aqua walkthrough. This is Disney Town. This is my least favourite level in the game, mainly because it forces you to do these incredibly pedantic minigames that just aren't very fun. I'm sure somebody out there enjoys them, that somebody is not me. And it is one of the mandatory levels as well, so in most of the campaigns you have to come here and do some kind of miscellaneous bullshit. That being said, it is colourful, which I do like, but it has the worst song in the entire soundtrack, which is this almost mind-numbingly Russian anti-terrorist technique rhythm. It's just brutal. It's this so uplifting, fake smile, clowny, repetitious, just awful song that's just beep, 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 I want to kill myself. Like, it's just constant all the time, and it just loops. It's horrible. It's really horrible. And then when you combine that with a lot of minigames that just aren't that fun unless you like them, it's an interesting place to be. But we've got an 11-minute video. I'm going to do the bare minimum to get through this shitfest, and then we're going to get on to stuff that I do find enjoyable. But it's not without merit, this area. You can get some cool abilities here. You can do some interesting stuff as I'm beating up these letterboxes, which is always fun. But that's Birth by Sleep for you. There are a couple levels that, for whatever reason, they just kind of rub me the wrong way. In the other Kingdom Hearts games, I don't think there are any areas, that I don't enjoy. There are some that are not as good, in my opinion, but I still get through them and I still find something redeemable there. Except for Twilight Town, at the very beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, because it goes on for too long and all I want to do is get to not this. But a couple of unversed here to practice your techniques on, practice your combinations, find something that works for you, something that you enjoy. And we're looking quite strong for this area at the moment, so it seems like... Then again, this guy's taking a beating, so maybe not. Maybe it's just certain enemies that are popcorn enemies, and then that guy was a little tougher. The good news is, you don't have to fight any of these. So if you want to just blow through this zone and get it done with, you don't have to do that much combat. But big fat guy there doing his ground pound. Here's me doing... What is happening there? That was really strange. I used a gravity move and nobody fell for it. That was weird. And then I do the blade charge, which... Such a cool move. Once again though, compare that to the efficacy of the Spellweaver, and it just doesn't compare. Like, it's cool for diversity's sake, but if you're going for full efficiency and maximum performance, you are not using that move. But there is a little hourglass dude. I forget what this hourglass drops, but I know it's something good, because I remember farming him on a different run. Then again, look at the stun lock. He's incredibly dangerous unless you keep him propped. He also has a gravity move too, which is interesting. As I do Firestorm on an enemy and miss, and take a big Ice Blast to the face. But there you go. So I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about some different things, because why not? I have wrote up a couple of things to make videos of as we wait for the dynamic link, which sometimes takes forever. I wonder why they didn't fix that. It seems like something that could have been easily tweaked on the processors of the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, but then again it didn't. But I suppose a lot of these remixes are kind of the epitome of laziness in a lot of ways. I certainly feel that way about the Gears Ultimate one, purely because it's the multiplayer that got the massive overhaul and everything else is fucking tepid. Which I think is super unfair, because that multiplayer is going to be dead in a few months. It's going to be dead by the time Black Ops 3 drops, because Gears multiplayer has always been fickle. You know, outside of those dedicated guys that stay on there, there's just not much else. Like, outside of Gears 1, where it was super fresh and new and it kept its life for quite a lot because there just wasn't that much competition, by the time you get to Gears 3 was probably the best game in the series. It brought everything together. Its multiplayer was the best connection I've ever played on, and my internet's terrible. And I was always able to have a ton of fun on it. And you try turning it on now and it's dead. And it sucks because it's such a better game than a lot of the Call of Duties that they're pumping out, than a lot of the other multiplayers that are super popular. And it's just this sad thing of, you know, it sucks that this great thing that was been made by great people is now shunned and neglected. So for them to completely focus on that, on the remake, I appreciate there's probably a lot more people that are interested in multiplayer than there are in the campaign, but just seeing how fickle these multiplayer players are, that they're just going to jump onto whatever the next thing is, it seems to me like just a silly choice. A really silly choice. And I don't really understand it. I don't understand a lot of these high-definition remakes. Like, I really like these ones because there's no way in hell I would have played this game outside of the emulator. And on the emulator, I couldn't move the camera certain directions, I couldn't use the shot lock. Like, a lot of things were annoying as fuck. But I did it because I wanted to and I really enjoyed it. These allowed me to play these fantastic games, you know, in a different way. Like, the Devil May Cry one was pretty damn lazy, but at least it gave me the games that are on my PS2 available to me at any time. But you look at the ones now, like, Dishonored? That game's been out like 2 days. Like, what the fuck? Who is sitting thinking like, oh, we've got to get another version of Dishonored? And you know what makes it even worse? All that version does is give it you in a slightly higher resolution, probably. And the DLC. It's literally a Game of the Year edition on a different console because the frame rate is still shit. It doesn't even hit 60. And the one thing that you can fall back on these remakes is that you gave it good frame rate, because that's the one thing that a lot of these games were lacking because of the console restrictions, and yet they didn't even do that. As I explore this level and try and get some fun out of it, which is very, very tough to do, as I run around with this giant laser sword and kill these enemies a couple more times than perhaps they need to be killed. But I guess you get to see a little bit of the level if you're curious. There is also no boss here, I don't think. It's just mini-games against Pete, which is a very strange category of boss fight, if you ask me. But he drops, what's that, shimmering crystals. So that's pretty good, I guess, for when you want to change your abilities. But I just find them really sad and really frustrating, because there's a lot of games that would super benefit from being remade and being made, you know, on systems that are more powerful to make them run better. But they're not the games getting remade. There are a ton of games that are old enough to warrant people going back to them, but they're not the ones that are getting chosen. It's a really strange choice. Like, the remake of Resident Evil 0. Resident Evil 0 was a GameCube game. That is enough time for them to say, yo dog, you can have this again, because there are people who weren't even born that are excited about this game. You know, when it first came out, they were sperms. They were, you know, a glint in someone's eye. They were a couple of extra shots of brandy at dinner time. Like, that is what they were. And here is one of the minigames. This is the crazy volleyball one, tennis thing. So, I watched a few videos on this section because I read on a forum somewhere that people were having trouble with it. And apparently, you can get kind of unlucky in this game and lose. And if you lose, you can't progress the game. I've never lost this minigame. Every single time I've done it, I've never lost. And that's not because I'm some god's gift to fruit volleyball. I'm not. I just didn't realise it could be failed. All I do is spam triangle to do the crazy spikes when they hit things towards me, and then I use the analog to direct the fruit towards where the goal is. It's literally that simple. Like, if you've ever played a football game, which is actual football, not hand egg, or a tennis game, then you know how to do this. This is pretty simple stuff. Spike it up, and then attack it into the goal, and just, you know, intercept them and keep them on the back foot. And it lasts so goddamn long, how could you not win? It seems kind of strange, but I believe it because it's a game. And how many times has somebody been like, oh, this is the easiest section in a game, and you got your ass kicked? I've had that happen so many times. Like, friends have had the easiest times with things, and it's destroyed me. So I do understand if you're struggling, but hopefully you'll get a lucky RNG path. But this is all I do. It's incredibly boring. I hate this minigame. And it's not because it's bad, it's because it's long. If this was 40 seconds long, I think it'd be really interesting. But 3 minutes? Who needs 3 minutes to appreciate I'm whacking fruit? I don't know. Very strange. But high definition remakes confuse me. Can you imagine a remake of Mass Effect 1 for consoles, where the game didn't run like an utter piece of dog shit? That's a remake that I would really like from a game that isn't that old. Because I think it would make that game what it probably was on PC after several patches, which is absolutely phenomenal, because that to me is one of those watershed moments on the Xbox 360 where gaming suddenly felt so much more than what it was, and the sequels just didn't have that for me at all. They just turned them into third-person shooters, and I'd already played so many third-person shooters at that point, I didn't need them. You know, I wanted that extra measure of depth. Like, I felt like it was Star Trek Generations or something, and I was part of a greater universe. In those other two, I felt like it was straight up Crank or fucking Transporter 3, even though Crank is amazing. You know, Transporters are not too bad, even though I hated them to begin with. It gets a bit more tricky now, though. You'll notice that the team are doing a little bit more better when there's these crazy barricades up, but I'm still 23-9, so they're not doing that well. But, you know, it's a game. Things go weird sometimes. Like, somebody left a comment today on my Metal Gear Solid video. Why do I have a helicopter on this mission? I don't know, maybe you didn't kill it? Try killing it in free roam, maybe you won't have a helicopter. Maybe there's always a helicopter. Maybe it's the adjusted difficulty. I'm not too sure, dude. It's not my game. On my game, there's no helicopter. On my game, there's a claymore that was never there, and it hit me, of course, because I disarm claymores with my face. But that is Disney Town. I can't begin to tell you how much fun I just had there, so I hope you did too. Thank you for listening, watching, I hope it helps, and you take care now.